I started high ticket sales back in August. On my first month, I made over 20 grand in startup commissions. And this month, it was pretty much over 70 grand overall.
Yeah, insane.
On my last month, I had around like $600,000 like cash collected on that offer in a single month.
Insane. That's crazy. And like in 1 week, what was your last week of the month that you like ended up, I think, crushing, right? You did something crazy?
It was like in the middle of the month, but like pretty much I think it was like the second week of the month. I collected $230,000 in a single week.
Crazy. That's what people collect in a month. And you did that,
Yeah.
which is insane. All right. So I'm here with Borja, my client who's been working with me for like 3 months now, right?
Yep, since October, late October.
Exactly. Familiar face. He was literally just in the channel like what, a month and a half ago doing a testimonial. Now another insane change in your commissions. We'll obviously get into that in a second. But Borja, just if anybody doesn't know who you are, let them know about your experience, what you've done, who you're working with, all that stuff.
Yeah, so basically I started high ticket sales back in August. So I became a setter in August. I joined the program back in at the end of June.
Yeah.
And then I started closing pretty much in October. That's when I started working with JP.
Yeah.
So on my first month closing, I made over 20 grand in startup commissions. Second month, I made pretty much like super fucking close to 30. I was actually so mad I didn't make 30 grand.
Yeah.
Then the month after that, I made $37,000. And this month, it was pretty much over 70 grand overall.
Yeah, insane. And it's funny because you were working like a normal ass job, like literally what, like working in the supermarket. I think it was like literally 5-6 months ago.
Yeah, I was waiting tables. Like I was just a fucking, I was just a fucking server.
It's funny because we met at an event, and at that event, you were telling me that you were scared to leave that job, right? You were like a little bit fearful of taking that change because how much were you earning at that job on average?
Like 7K a month, which
like
for waiter is like not bad, but that's kind of like why I was still a little bit fearful.
Exactly. So like, I think we had a little bit of a conversation there, and then you ended up getting into sales. Well, because you had that fear. A lot of people have that fear of getting into sales, making that change, transitioning from an industry where they're making okay money. Like, what made you make that change and take that leap of faith?
Because the thing is that like I remember one thing that you told me, which is like you're making like 7 grand a month. You're like, is that enough? I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And it's just like a thing that I would see around me with this people that had been doing that job for like 40, 50 years. They were doing that job since they were like 18 and they still like on the same fucking spot. And they would make 10 grand a month, be like, okay, like this is actually a lot of money. I'm like, I don't want that to be me. Like, I don't want to waste my life in this job. So I'm like, I need to go bigger. And the only way to go bigger is to like say risk it and fuck it all. So I was like, fuck it all.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you just took a big leap because it was scary, right? It wasn't something that happened overnight.
Yeah.
But you ended up taking that leap. A lot of people wouldn't. What do you feel like for you made you say, you know what, fuck this, I'm doing it? Because a lot of people would have stayed in the job.
Because I know I was meant for more. And at the end of the day, like when I go out, I don't want to go out with having the regret I should have done more.
Yeah.
I'd rather fucking like do something, crash and burn and see at least I tried than leave like a regular fucking job and look at myself 40-year-old with like regrets that I'm in the same spot.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I want to get more into like the training that we've obviously worked with you on. It's been one-on-one with me that you've worked on. You've gone into like more of a higher level packages. With that in mind, like when you were getting trained by me, like what do you think? Because your income went up very rapidly. What do you feel like those tweaks that we made to your sales that made you just ultimately increase your income in your first month to 20, second month, I don't know what, 30, then third month 37, and like now 70? Like what do you feel like those tweaks were that made you rapidly increase your income?
So the first week, the one that made the biggest difference was like my pre-handling, my objection handling, which were kind of like, they were kind of like not good and you made them like better.
Yes.
And that was what took me like that month. Because I remember when I started working with you, I think I was at something like 6 to like 7 grand for the month. And I started working with you like in the middle of October. Then we ended up closing the month over 20 grand. Like, that was like a big change.
Exactly.
After that, from like November and December, it was like the process. Pitching, I was taking too long in the pitching. That made like the biggest difference because a lot of people were giving me like, think about the objections.
Yeah.
I started doing like after the pitching, it was just kind of like dialing down the process. So really dialing down like objection handling, problem building.
Yeah.
The biggest shift that happened in January. So even though like we have upsells, most of my like 90% of my commissions were from actual like cold outreach. And the straight up like what allowed me to close like more of these deals was like us just dialing in like the objection handling, dialing in the process, and making sure like for the most part, if someone was there and had some sort of intention of
Yeah.
closing, they would close. Like I don't
Yeah.
think I ever had a single person that called that didn't close.
Yeah, because what we
That
did is we
intention.
implemented a rule in your process. Because I remember at the very beginning, what we need to do is tighten your process where you're getting less objections and it was becoming easier for you at the end. But now when it became easier for you, what I've seen is that we were still not pushing people hard enough. We were
Mhm.
still doing follow-ups. And what was important is that we looked over your data because a lot of the importance of getting you to a result quicker is pinpointing things based on not emotions but data. We looked at your data. We seen well you were closing maybe I think it was like 2 or 3 out of 10 follow-ups. So
Yeah.
we decided to implement the new rule, which is like yes, no, fuck you, right? At the end of the conversation, that's all the answers we were taking. And when you implemented that, like what changed for you?
So it's like people who pretty much calendar space because when they book a follow up, then it shows. So that's a calendar slot that you're
Yeah,
wasting. Also, it comes to the fact that like even if I managed to get 2 or 3 go over the line, that's 2 or 3 deals I would have gotten otherwise.
yeah,
And like I rather fucking like burn a lead to the ground and then tell me fuck you than like book a
yeah.
follow up, then waste a slot, then not have the deal close.
Exactly. Yeah, because not only like the importance of that is not only that like when you don't follow up, you also waste a slot when you are following. That's another
Yeah.
person that could have been on your calendar that you could have made more money on that you're wasting now. Because again, you take a high volume of calls. Like I think what amount of calls are you taking per day on average?
I think a lot, but like 12 bare minimum, usually 14.
Yeah. And what did you start implementing now when you weren't on calls that I taught you that allowed your
Mhm.
income to increase so significantly?
When I wasn't on calls.
Yeah.
Just like hitting up my follow-ups, doing a bit of outbound, hitting up the upsells, those
Yeah,
kind of
that's what I'm
things
saying.
really.
You were doing like money producing activities where a lot of people, what they do is they don't have calls. Even with
Mhm,
11 calls, you're still taking a day. Like you're taking probably double what someone takes, and you're still doing outbound, you're still doing follow-ups, you're still doing these revenue generating activities that
mhm,
put you in this position that you are here today. So kudos to you for doing it because a lot of people wouldn't. Like,
mhm.
what do you feel like in terms of the methodology that I teach is different to others you've learned?
So I would say like the process is just like way more streamlined. Like you're going straight for the point. The objection handling, I know for some people like they like, oh, I like this, I like that. I feel like I feel more familiar with your process. I think it's
Yeah,
just easier. I think it goes straight to the point.
yeah,
So it cuts through like the bullshit. Like you pretty
yeah,
much you're attacking the emotion. So like
yeah,
a lot of other objection handling might be like super like long winded and stuff like that, like big quotes. This is just
yeah.
like straight to the point pretty much.
Exactly. And you're working for one of the biggest offers in the space. What did you end up like? Because you've now been the top closer since you came into closing, essentially, like what, now 5 months consistently?
Yeah, on a
I
row.
think is that it's important that you didn't just have one good month, you
Mhm.
continuously improved every single month. What do you think for you, like, made that happen? A lot of people have one good month, go back down to 10, and then they average out of 10, or
Mhm.
maybe average out of 20, right? Like, as you could have, but you kept improving. What do you feel like, even though you were at a high level of training within your first 2 months, you still kept improving? What do you feel like adopted to that?
So taking a shit ton of calls, that's one of the things like actually putting the volume because a lot of people they'll have like 6 calls in the schedule. Then like two of them will no shit, and they're doing nothing else. It's like they're taking
Yeah.
4 calls a day. Then like closer is not good. So it's like they're closing like
Yeah.
one or maybe like 0 deals a day.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, I think one of the things we were looking at as well implementing was how can we now start building like a team around you, right? Where you have like setter
Hmm.
setting for you. So we paired you up with a setter where
Hmm.
you had a setter setting for you that now you could review his calls, give him feedback. So the leads you were getting wasn't just 11 random leads. It was
Yeah.
11 leads that were actually solid towards the ideal type of persona you need on your calendar to make you more money because you didn't start thinking like a sales rep, you started thinking like a business owner, which was key. So
Hmm.
for people that know, because people look at like the money you make, which is great, but more like the how much cash did you have to collect for that company to make the money you did that month?
For my last month.
Yes.
So on my last month, I had around like $600,000 like cash
Wow.
collected on that offer in a single month.
Insane. Insane. That's crazy. And like in one week, what was your last week of the month that you like ended up, I think, crushing, right? You did something crazy.
So it was like in the middle of the month, but
Mm,
like pretty much I think it was like the second week of the month. I
yeah.
collected $230,000 in a single week.
Crazy. That's what people collect in a month. And you did that in
Yeah.
a, which is insane. Well, great, man. I guess like obviously if anybody's sitting on the fence and they're like, oh, what should I do in terms of getting into training, getting the help? Like, what would you tell them?
Like in doing like any training
Yeah,
or
exactly.
I would say like the thing is that if you're working high ticket, it's kind of like what we've drilled down like a lot of times where it's like you need to overcome your own objections. It's like if you've never done training before and it's in a
Yeah.
high ticket offer, how could you sell something to someone that you haven't done yourself. So
Yeah.
I would say like you definitely have to like get the training and not be a bitch on the other day because that's gonna help you.
Exactly. Because like it really is like the ROI, right? It's like what are we losing by doing it on our own compared to having a coach guiding us, leading us right the way.
Yeah, it's like bro,
Like,
if you've been making like 5 grand a month for like your entire life, it's like what the fuck do you have to
yeah.
lose?
But you haven't only invested in me, you invested multiple times, which is like
Yeah,
the difference, right? It just shows because like top 1% of salespeople, they just don't invest one time. They continuously reinvest in their skills. So kudos to you for doing that, man. Well, yeah, I think what's really the next step for you, man? So everybody knows, like, look, you're at 70 grand now. There's this you're getting close to me. I'm getting scared now. What's going on over here?
100 grand a month, bro. I need to hit 100 grand a
There we
month.
go. There we go. I want Borges to be the first client who overtakes me in terms of commissions. That's gonna be fun. Well, yeah, man. It was a pleasure as always. We'll hopefully have a new testimonial for you guys in 3 months when he hits 100 grand. But yeah, thank you, Borges.
Sounds good.
Easy, bro.